we can go ahead and get started now. Again, this is Megan from Congressman Foster's office. Thank you to everyone for joining us. As you know, we're here to discuss the GI Education Benefits Fairness Act. And we're going to hear from several people today. We're going to start with Congressman Foster.
Well, hello, and thank you all for joining us today. As you all know, we're here to talk about the GI Education Benefits Fairness Act, which is bipartisan legislation that I introduced last week with my colleague, Congresswoman Cathy McMorris Rodgers of Washington. Cathy is not able to make the conference today because yesterday she gave birth to her third child, female, and anyway, so that is, I think, a pretty good reason for missing today's phone conference. But I really appreciate everyone who's online. This issue first came to my attention when Sergeant First Class Angela Dees, who you'll be hearing from shortly, reached out to my office. Angela and her son have been the victims of very serious bureaucratic oversight. The post-9/11 GI Bill provides education benefits to veterans and service members who serve on active duty after September 10th, 2001. In 2008, I voted for the post-9/11 Veterans Educational Assistance Act of 2008 as part of the Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2008. But because of this legislation, many of our active troops can transfer their GI education benefits to their children. Under current law, the Department of Defense includes wards and foster children in the definition of, quote, eligible child, unquote, who can receive their parents' GI education benefits. However, the Veterans Administration does not. This has led to a bureaucratic nightmare for members of the armed services and their families. 100 wards and foster children were initially approved by DOD for GI education benefits, and money was paid out to their schools. And then, in mid-semester, the VA revoked their benefits, and the students and their families were notified that they would have to pay back all the money. These students now face unexpected amounts of debt at a time they really can't afford it. They aren't just stuck with bigger loan payments, but with outstanding bills that they did not expect. Children of the men and women who serve honorably should not be denied the benefits that they were promised because of a bureaucratic oversight. These servicemen and women have honored the promise they made to serve our country, and we need to honor the promises that we make to them. And that's why I've introduced this legislation. The GI Education Benefits Fairness Act would amend the definition of eligible child for the purposes of transferring GI benefits to include wards and foster children. Doing so would allow foster children and wards like Christopher, who were approved for GI education benefits and then had them revoked, to receive the education funding that they were promised. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Angela and Christopher, if he's on yet, to talk about their experience.
Thank you, Congressman Foster. My name is Sergeant First Class Angela Dees. I'm currently a training developer stationed at Fort Eustis in Virginia. I joined the Army in October of 1998 in order to give my family a better life and to serve my country like much of my family has. At the time, I was married and had a wonderful stepson named Christopher Webb. When I got divorced, I didn't divorce Christopher. Instead, I went to court to take full custody of him. I was granted sole custody, which allowed him to stay eligible for all the benefits that a natural child would receive. He changed his life when I changed duty stations and was just an all-around Army brat. Christopher maintained straight A's and was in all honors and AP classes through high school, even with moving to my parents' home in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan while I was in Afghanistan or Iraq. He graduated from a DoD high school in Ansbach, Germany in June of 2010, third in his class. I was able to leave Afghanistan for R&R to be there as I had been deployed for most of the school year. I came back from R&R and started thinking about transferring my GI Bill to Christopher. I had just heard about the post-9/11 GI Bill option, and I was very interested in it. I decided to do it, and when I initially tried, the website gave me an error that I had to have 4 years of service left in order to transfer it to him. Put me in a little bit of a bind because I was definitely looking forward to getting out after 12 years of service, 3 of which were in Afghanistan or Iraq. I decided to do 8 more years so he could have the opportunity to go to a great school. it was my turn to be supportive of him and his goals, as he had spent nearly all his life doing the same for me. I re-enlisted indefinitely and transferred the benefits to Christopher. The DOD sent me an approval letter on the 20th of July stating that the transfer status was effective 18 July. He left the second week in August, exactly 1 week after I redeployed. I was so sad and so happy all at the same time. He started school and was very excited to be on his own. I began to get worried about finances about 2 months into the semester because he still hadn't received his stipend for housing. That was supposed to be the money he lived on. I had to give him money and add him to my credit card so he could pay for train tickets, clothes, books, and whatever else a college kid needs. Then I got a letter in the mail in Germany, and it was one of the most devastating letters I've ever received. Dated 18 November 2010, the VA says that Christopher is not eligible because he is a ward. My mind was reeling, and I felt betrayed. I wondered how this could happen. The only thing the TEB website, the VA website, or any of the literature concerning the post-9/11 GI Bill stated was that it could be transferred to spouses and dependent children that had to be in your DEERS, which stands for Defense Enrollment Eligibility Reporting System. He was definitely my dependent and was also in my DEERS. My knee-jerk reaction was to get my son home now. He had to get a seasonal job during Christmas time to help me purchase a return ticket to Germany. He stopped going to classes and worked. He came back to Germany and then followed me to Virginia when I changed duty stations in December of 2011. Shortly thereafter, we got served from UIC saying that they were taking him to court to the tune of $30,000. I approached every avenue that the military had as far as relief and explained my story several hundred times, but nobody ever really listened. They were all sorry, but there was nothing they could do. That's when I chose to call Congressman Foster. His office and his people were the only ones that took a genuine interest in our case and have actually started to do something to help us. They have done congressional inquiries that have answered more questions than I could ever have received. All I can do is hope that Congress will see what an injustice this is to these poor kids, support Congressman Foster's bill, and take action to fix it. This is not Christopher's fault or any of the other kids in this situation. He trusted me when I told him if he worked hard in school, he could go to a great college, and I trusted that he would be taken care of. It's the worst feeling to know that your actions have adversely affected your kids. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Angela. Christopher, did you make it on?
Yes.
Did you have some comments you wanted to add?
I think both the congressman and my mom said anything I could ever want to say, but I just want to reiterate how much my mom has sacrificed. She's been in the military now for 14 years.
15.
And 15 years, sorry. And she has supported me since she married my father when I was very young. And her heart was in the right place when she re-enlisted indefinitely to transfer those benefits to me. She did mention I had straight A's. I graduated third in my class, and I had no other funding available. I didn't think that I would need it. So for that to be taken away after I was already in school, it was heartbreaking. And I think this legislation is very important not only to me, but to hundreds of other kids that have been affected or will be affected. So I just hope that other people agree, and I think that it's very deserved for other service members and their children, whether they were born to their sponsor or adopted, or a court said that that sponsor was the only person that could take care of them, which was the case with my mom and I. So, yeah.
Well, thank you both for sharing your stories. Next, we're going to hear from Eileen Huff with the National Military Family Association.
Thank you, Megan. Once again, just to introduce myself, my name is Eileen Huck, and I'm with the National Military Family Association. We are a national nonprofit organization based in Alexandria, Virginia, and our mission is to advocate for military families of all branches of service and all ranks and components. And so when the Congressman's office came to us and with this proposed legislation, we were very interested. We know that the GI Bill and the ability to transfer those benefits has been so important to so many military families, and we definitely did not want families such as Sergeant First Class D's to be left out of that important benefit. We recognize that military families take all shapes and sizes, and that all military kids need and deserve a quality education, and that includes a college education. And we are very much in favor of the ability of service members who have done so much for their country to be able to transfer those valuable benefits to their spouses and to their kids. So we're very grateful to Congressman Foster for raising this important issue, and we're grateful for the work that his staff has done to bring forward this piece of legislation. And we're very optimistic and hopeful that this will help families like Chris and his moms who no longer have to face this kind of situation.
Thank you. And next up, we're going to hear from Karen Golden with the Military Officers Association of America.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Golden, and I am the Deputy Director of Government Relations, covering military family issues at the Military Officers Association of America. A brief background, I am a military spouse. My husband is currently on active duty, and we've been married 25 years. I am also the proud parent of 3 highly mobile military children, one of which is the recipient of post-9/11 GI Bill benefits. So this is an issue that is also near and dear to my heart. First, about the Military Officers Association of America. The Military Officers Association of America is the nation's largest military service organization with more than 380,000 members from every branch of service, including active duty, retired, National Guard, Reserve, former officers, their families, and survivors. MOA is a nonprofit and politically nonpartisan organization with an influential force in promoting a strong national defense. MOA represents the interests of all service members and their families in every stage of their life and career. On behalf of MOA, I would like to express our support for Representative Foster's bipartisan bill, the GI Education Benefits Fairness Act, which supports military families by extending post-9/11 GI Bill education benefits to wards and foster children. The transferability option under post-9/11 GI Bill allows service members to transfer unused benefits to their spouses or their eligible children. Under Title 10, the Department of Defense, which governs post-9/11 GI Bill transferability, the definition of eligible children includes foster children or wards. In good faith, the Department of Defense has adhered to this definition in the Title 10 statute when awarding educational benefits. However, the VA cannot pay those educational benefits because no definition of foster child or ward exists in Title 38, the statute which governs GI Bill rules. Representative Foster's bill would fix this discrepancy between the DoD's definition of a child and the VA's definition of a child, which we believe is a fair and reasonable solution to this erroneous oversight in the law. We are grateful to Representative Foster and to Representative McMorris Rogers. Thank you for all you are doing for all of our military children.
Thank you. And then finally, we're going to hear from Jacob Zimmerman, who is with the King County Veterans Assistance Commission.
Good afternoon. Let me start out by saying thank you to the Congressman and his staff for having me on today. As a recipient of the post-9/11 GI Bill myself, I know the frustration that veterans and their families have in accessing their benefits through the VA. This certainly isn't the first bill that has been proposed to make positive changes to the post-9/11 GI Bill, and it probably won't be the last. I started using the GI Bill almost as soon as it went into effect in August of 2009. At that time, it took almost 3 months for the VA to get me those benefits, and during those 3 months, I had to pay for my tuition out of my pocket. That process now takes 35.3 days for an initial application and only 10.8 days for subsequent semester enrollments, and that process is now almost entirely automated. There were previous improvements to this GI Bill that added inclusion of active service under Title 32, which was previously excluded, and that bill also added apprenticeship and on-the-job training as approved programs. Far too often we have veterans coming into our office here in Geneva, Illinois, at the Veterans Assistance Commission who have been sent a bill by the VA. It is not uncommon to see bills in the tens of thousands of dollars, some as high as $60,000 and $70,000 for benefits that were mistakenly approved. This happens when the VA doesn't do their job properly, as it appears they did here, and veterans and their approved dependents who were once determined eligible are now determined not eligible and consequently owe tens of thousands of dollars to the federal government. In this case, it is bewildering that the definition of an eligible dependent in Title 38 didn't match what that definition was in Title 10, but it is unfortunately not surprising to those of us who are veteran advocates. I am glad that this bill has come forward with bipartisan support and is essentially a no-brainer in fixing this part of the law.